When I was in high school, I noticed a phenomenon among the kids a few grades younger than me, the freshmen when I was seniors. They went through the two most socially important years of their life in middle school through COVID, and because they missed those 2 years, they were socially stunted, so to speak. Because of online learning, this has happened to a lot of kids where they miss out on necessary social and mental development. And I think that's a problem we as a society need to address. Today, this is obviously very important because all of us are still affected by online learning, and the kids in our lives are still continually being affected by it. Online school overall works for some people, but mostly it doesn't work, and it should only be available upon request or with necessary modifications to make it so kids are able to have the mental and social stability that they deserve. Today I'll be talking about the problems that online schooling causes, why these problems happen, and how we can fix them. I hope that when I'm done talking about these points that you'll be able to see from my perspective on online school. The first and most important problem that comes with online schooling is the mental illness and mental instability that many people undergo because of lack of socialization, etc. According to the American Psychological Association, mental health issues are very common among students in online school, especially low-income students. According to UC Davis, gay and trans students are also more likely to suffer from mental health issues, especially those in unsupportive households. The next problem is socialization issues. As I talked about with the 7th graders that I saw during my time in high school, with a disconnect from their teachers and their peers, many as students have socialization problems that cause them to be unable to fully glean what they need from online schooling. The next problem is the overall difficulty with learning that online school causes. According to eLearning Industry and an article written by Emmy Michelle in 2021, online schooling leads to the loss of motivation, self-discipline, and need to study. These are all arguably very important components for a student to learn and understand. However, online school has stunted these and has caused many students to not have the things that they need to survive later on. Next, I'll talk about some causes of these problems. The first cause of these social and mental issues is just simply boredom. The New York Times in 2020 interviewed a bunch of kids from different ages, and their responses varied, but many of them had negative opinions, saying that they'd much rather be at school because that's where they saw their teachers and their friends. According to the University of Alabama, college students felt like they just weren't getting what they needed socially from school because of online learning. They just weren't able to interact with their peers, which is something very important to learning. Another cause is the fact that kids just don't have the guidance and support, which Amanda Marin discusses in the Child Mind Institute. Because they just don't have the professional support that teachers provide, they have to learn how to be independent, as she says, and this can be very harmful to a growing mind. And last, another main problem is the lack of mental health services. Lots of kids struggle from mental health issues, especially because of online learning. And 35% of students got their mental health services from school, from a study discussed from a study written, that was the American Psychological Association. 35% of students got their mental health help from school, and these kids lost that during COVID, during online learning. Some solutions to the problems that I've mentioned are, 1, to have a hybrid model. A hybrid model will give students the opportunity to still have social and mental interaction with others, but also be able to have online learning if that is what's needed for the safety of others or just for a personal preference among kids. Another thing is that I think that there should be social requirements for online students where they should have to go into school a certain amount of times or have to interact with other students and other teachers a certain amount of times to fulfill a requirement so that they cannot be negatively impacted by the lack of socialization. And last of all, I think mental health resources are extremely important, especially for online schooling, because of how it will give students what they need when they go through hard times. Today I've talked about online schooling and how it's rather problematic, but how it can be implemented when mixed with other different kinds of requirements. I think that overall it does have a negative impact on the student's psyche, but if it has certain modifications, that it can be a viable option. Now, those kids that I talked about that I went to school with, even though they missed two vital parts of their life, they were still able to learn what they needed from later on in school because they were able to be put back into a school environment, and I was able to personally see them thrive. I think that this shows just how important real-life school is, and I hope that I've helped you be able to see that today too. Thank you.